Here we go again. After a brief break, we are back with some more of the finest black and white, right to left, guts and glory stories this side of Tokyo. Some manga can get dark, some can get scary, but none do it quite like horror manga. You know the ones, stories dedicated to bringing chills and thrills like no other. Sorry Berserk fans, I know it's scary and disturbing and excellent, but it's not classified as horror. Maybe scariest non-horror manga someday. Go check out that Scariest Gods in Literature list, huh? In the meantime, we are going to rip and tear through this list of the freakiest images put to paper with a felt-tipped pen. Hello horror heads and welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're counting down the top 5 scariest horror manga you need to read, part 2. Before we dive into the depths of hell, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more Eastern eeriness. Perfect, let's get started. Kicking us off at number 5, Jinwoo Game. That's werewolf game for all you English speakers out there, me included. Sound familiar? Well, it probably should if you've ever been to summer camp, or played the browser-based game Town of Salem, or just been around long enough to play a few different games. Jinwoo Game hinges on a high-stakes game of werewolf, or mafia if you're feeling particularly organized crimey. A bunch of high schoolers are kidnapped and brought to an undisclosed location. Panic-stricken, the rules of the game are explained to them. They do not have the right to refuse to play. They must make decisions at regular intervals, and these decisions have deadly consequences. There are 2 werewolves among the 9 players. I would say 10 players, but well, if the villagers and their oracle are able to sniff out the werewolves, they win. But if the werewolves kill all the villagers, then they win. Democratically decided executions daily, monstrous murders nightly. Oh yeah, classic. Immediately, mind games begin as the group is told that the werewolves are experts of deception. Everyone is on edge, trying to finagle a way to survive. To make things even more insane, each person supposedly has a grudge on someone else. Whether it was someone stealing from them and putting their business out of business, or performing a hit and run, ending their sports career, it's all bad news. Now, the mind games and the terrifying setup are just one part of what makes Jinwoo Game so scary. The other part is the grisly murders that happen so often. The gore does not hold back, with people's heads being separated from their bodies via expanding dog collar or having their dome caved in by a fire axe. And that's just in the first little bit. The players often have to murder their mark themselves, making murderers and accomplices of each and every one of these poor high school students. Paranoia sets in and many bloody blitzes ensue. A wicked time indeed. Rolling in at number 4, Pupa. Oof, this one just makes me hate the use of Oni-chan even more. A pair of siblings abused by their father and abandoned by their mother are infected by a mysterious disease that makes them monsters. They have to look out for each other, dependent on each other for their survival. However, the monster in younger sister Yume is much more insidious than whatever's dwelling inside of Utsu. In fact, she must feed on her brother daily in order to survive, and we're not just talking about nibbling on his limbs either. No way. She digs right into his gut and makes a lovely meal of his steaming intestines. Thankfully, I think Utsu has crazy regenerative powers thanks to the Pupa disease and can afford to have his sister take a few organs every now and then. The whole time they're being monitored by a shady organization and often run into other monstery maniacs. Plenty of nasty brother-sister gore here and plenty of questions that get less than lovely answers later on. Why is Utsu so protective of his sister? Where did the disease come from? How did she convince him to let her feed? Oh boy. Add in some insane monster transformations and you've got yourself an equal parts disturbing and fascinating series. Like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon, except the cocoon is a flesh-filled human body. And it's not a beautiful butterfly, it's a gigantic, fleshy demon dog thing with horns and slimy wings. Imagine something 5 times bigger than you bursting forth from your flesh. Not fun. Plenty of questionable themes here too. Abuse, brother-sister desire, exploitation, genetic experiments, you name it. If any of this sounds like your kind of good time, check out Pupa. But don't say I didn't warn you though. Busting down the door at number 3, we have Phuong Nota. Masaki Nakamura can make anything scary. Anything. You'll see how in a second. Roughly translating to Seeds of Anxiety, this is a series of little one-off horror shorts that touch on all sorts of fears. And when I say short, I mean short. Like, some are only 2 pages long. That doesn't detract from the scare factor though, quite the opposite. In fact, a lot of them read kinda like those really short stories that leave you checking over your shoulder every once in a while. You know the ones. The last man on earth was sitting alone in his house. There was a knock at the door. Or you hear your mom calling you into the kitchen. As you run down the stairs, you hear a voice from the closet saying, "Don't go down there, I heard it too." Classic. Phuong Nota channels that into horror manga and it's awesome. Nakamura takes mundane things and turns them malicious in a heartbeat. Traffic signs, puddles, old folks, all incredibly upsetting all of a sudden. Some of them are longer than that for sure, but they still keep the action moving along at a brisk pace and end before they start to drag on. Urban legends, common fears, all addressed and illustrated beautifully. Some of the stories can be kind of goofy and weird, but that's all part of the experience. You'll wrap up one that has you shaking your head and the next will jump out and ruin your sleep for the next few months. Don't let your guard down. Coming in at number 2, we've got Homunculus. This takes psychological horror to a whole new level. Like, it's totally up to interpretation, and that's probably the scariest part about it. No real answers, nothing delineating real from fake. Someone like Nakashi could actually be out there. Or you could end up like Nakashi. I should probably explain what I'm talking about. Homunculus follows a salaryman turned homeless nomad. He can't figure out what to do and as such is living in his car with a pleasant view of both a ritzy hotel and a park full of homeless people. Somehow he believes that he's better than both groups. Huh. In exchange for a very hefty sum of money, Nakashi signs up to be a lab rat of sorts. He becomes a trepanation test subject. Trepanation is the practice of drilling holes in one's skull. It used to be believed that doing so would increase blood flow, relieve pressure, and open up the person's sixth sense. It's illegal, but that's not going to stop these two. So Nakashi goes through with the procedure and ends up being able to see homunculi, or the real representation of people, the hidden side of their psyche. Often these are hideous, desire-ridden abominations, showing off the depravity and self-centeredness of people at large. Upon gaining this power, Nakashi's ego is fed even more so. He sees himself as better than everyone, especially now that he can see their terrifying inner selves. As his abilities fade, he opts to perform the skull screwing procedure on himself to get them back, causing him to fall deeper into the darkness. This leaves the reader with a lot of questions, none of which that are explicitly answered. Is Nakashi really seeing the homunculi, or is he hallucinating it as a side effect of the procedure? Are these accurate representations of people, or just how he sees them? How do we see the world? Do other people see it the same way too? How much is unique to each individual? If your negative traits were anthropomorphized, what would you look like? Maybe you don't want to find out. And finally, coming in at number 1, Tomi. Of course Junji Ito is going to top the list once again. The Ito stans would wring my neck if it didn't. Not to say that Tomi doesn't deserve the spot, because it does, but had I left it out, I feel like I'd be dead and buried by the end of next week. Tomi is the horror manga extraordinaire's first major creation, and it still holds up against the rest of his most recent work. It takes a look at the life and times of a mysterious woman named Tomi Kawakami. Immediately recognizable from her long, dark hair and beauty mark under her eye, Tomi is a strange, magnetic person. She drives men to madness, who then kill and perform other insane, violent acts for her. Although sometimes she causes people to jump off the deep end in the other direction. With Tomi, it's love or hate. Kill her or kill for her. Plus, she's basically immortal. Even if you kill her, she'll come back. More Tomis grow from her injuries. Pieces of her can take over other bodies, mutating them into Tomi clones. She also loves to munch on human flesh, given the opportunity. It's an episodic series showcasing her terrifying nature in so many different disturbing ways. Body horror, psychological torture, fear of the unknown, Tomi does it all. Of course, people have also made a habit of projecting their insecurities and fears onto Tomi, which makes her a sympathetic character as well. Sometimes. She does cause a lot of problems herself, but if she were just an embodiment of pure evil with no relatable qualities, it wouldn't be half as effective as it is. Keep it up, Ito. Damn dude, that is a lot of horror manga. What'd you think of the list? Any fantastic freaky weeklies I missed? Do you prefer horror manga or horror anime? Why? Let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take it way back to the last horror manga entry we put together. Cold Grace asks, aren't you on life's biggest questions? Correct. Good eye, or ear, I guess. Cross promo. Moses Chong says, funny thing is that the people who make the scariest films, manga, comics, and books happen to be the kindest. There's something about understanding the depths of human fear that make you just want to be nicer to everyone, huh? Starcast1 said, I would read these mangas if I hadn't already. Hopefully some of the ones featured this time sate your hunger for new material. Red Harlow says that I Am a Hero manga has a live action movie. Already watched it last year. I haven't seen it yet, but it looks pretty wicked. And Lan Reaction says, best video you guys made in months. Hopefully this one gets the same kind of praise. Love the dog in your picture too. That's all the time we have for today. Before I pick a fight with a Yeti, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more scandalous scanlations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I feel like I've got like such a gut right now because I had 2 servings. I should have wore a looser shirt. Ooh, I did dessert too. I'm losing it today. Tomi is the horror manga. It has. Tomi is a. Dude. Do you hear that? Sounds like somebody playing the recorder in 3rd grade.